guys, I'm Rachel O'Leary and welcome back to my husband's shop. Now you guys seem to really enjoy that DIY build he did for the stand in my living room, which I'm still deciding what to put on top of, so make sure you stop into my Instagram and weigh in on that for me. He is always making something. It's really pretty cool. He came home from work yesterday or the day before with this giant ball of nuts. Which is currently in 2 pieces, and we're trying to figure out what to do with it. We're thinking maybe it can be a cool garden ball. So if you have any ideas about that, let us know below. We're gonna put it on some sort of pillar or stand or something. It also would be pretty cool as a light, though it's very heavy. So I'm not sure how functional that application would be unless it was a desk lamp. But the reason I have you guys out here today is because we're getting ready to build another coat rack. And as you can see from this piece here, it's the same as the one that we used in my living room coat rack, which I showed you guys during the DIY stand build. I just wanted to go over with you guys some of the thought processes that go into projects like these when Chris is making them and we're brainstorming their creation. So let's get started. So basically how it works is, here's my husband, Chris, again. He has piles and piles and piles of shiny stuff. I told you guys last time he's kind of like a ferret in that. And basically, he picks a project he wants to make, and then we pick through the piles of shiny things to find things that will be functional for what we're trying to build. This, for instance, with this, we're going to make another coat rack to offer for sale. We've sold a few of these now. So we'll dump out the piles of tools and we'll pick interesting toppers and wrenches and chain and who knows what to be the actual coat hooks. And one of the things we had talked about is I thought it would be great if there was some sort of functional hooks lower, either for children's coats or for hanging umbrellas or canes or things like that. So we're just gonna pull out his piles of stuff and look through that and pick what's going on it. Now this is the base. And then there's a length of, there's a length of pipe that we use to get the height on it, and then he'll weld the various shiny bits and baubles onto it. Now, generally, how many do we usually put on there? It's like at least 4 at the top, 8 at the top. And I thought it would be cool, again, to have 3 or 4 at the bottom for children, umbrellas, or canes, or whatever. Now, these are definitely not lightweight, but I think that's good because it means they're not going to fall over. They stand the test of time, and they just look so damn cool. So this is from
a gearbox, drum magnet gearbox. They're like throwaway gearboxes. We just throw them away when they break or bend and throw a new one on. And I'm the ferret that pulls it apart and makes stuff out of it.
I just think they're really attractive. I also think that these will be great, similar to the stand he made me, as bases for pedestal stands. And at some point I still want him to make me a plant stand, and we'll probably end up using something like that for it. Well, I'll show you guys real quick what we're working with here. There are, I'm not joking when I say, he collects a lot of things shiny. Not the pipe bender, but these are all things that he's brought home that we just think are neat. There's various thicknesses of chain, various gears, and I don't even know what those giant things are there, but I think that they'd be really cool for picnic bench legs. We have a fire pit in our backyard, and the only obstacle would be, of course, moving them to mow. But these are the piles of the neat stuff he collects to potentially make something with someday, maybe. So today is that day, and we're going to look through them. And I know for a fact we'll probably end up using this large bit for the top of the coat rack. I think it I think it ends up giving it a nice perspective and finishing element to the top. There was also some sort of weird, like, pyramid-y finial looking thing that was in there. Do you remember, Chris?
I used that on ours.
Oh, okay. But so these are all the different tools that he's collected from scrap bins. We also go to yard sales a lot and just look through the old tools and stuff that are laying around. You can pick up a lot of this stuff for next to nothing. And we just like to repurpose it into sort of found object art functional pieces.
Functional.
So this is the bucket of cool gears. And all of these again are appropriate for, you know, adding flair or using as bases, or who knows, maybe at some point we'll get into moving parts on some of this stuff. But basically all we do is look through and find things that we think match the scale of the pipe and the base, and then figure out how we're gonna cut, or how he's gonna cut and manipulate them to be useful for our coat rack. These are our 3 piles of stuff, and I think what we'll probably do is focus on that pile in the middle to pick out the hooks for the coat rack. We wanted this for the top, right?
Sure.
Okay. I tend to like things that have a little bit of an angle to them. And that are a bit heavy duty, just so that they don't look, you know, sort of flimsy and wonky.
Can always heat with a torch too.
Yeah, and he'll often heat them with torches to bend them. I liked this one. I like this. I don't know how, I thought maybe that might be good for the bottom because it's rounded, that way it's not a knee buster.
Right.
Oh, I remember, it was this too. Yeah. Maybe not this one.
I'm gonna go with this guy too. I can get that up and bend it.
I think we should save this for something for us. It's neat. Oh, what's that? I have us at 4?
There's 4.
So these items are ones that we've picked for the very top of the coat rack. These will be just below them. That's all for, you know, tall people coats. And then we picked out these smaller ones, which will be for, you know, either children or, like I mentioned, canes, you know, umbrellas, like whatever, lower level stuff. And they're a smaller scale, but you can see everything kind of has the same. You can see they all have, you know, there's groupings of proportions that are sort of what help make this all tie together. We also try too to sort of mirror different elements the whole way throughout. So this will be mirrored in this guy, you know, and just the whole industrial functional chic thing. So gonna get started cleaning everything up, and I'm not gonna show you guys a ton of the welding, but I'll show you process along the way for sure. So one of the other really cool things that my husband does is he finds old pieces of industrial machinery, takes them apart, fixes them, paints them, and puts them back together. And this sander's a really good example of that. This was in the garbage, and all it really needed was some grease and a new switch, which I think he got for like a couple dollars, $4. And it, you know, we very much believe that things should be reused, fixed, recycled, and repurposed rather than just discarded in the trash. And I know you guys see examples of that in my room as well. So Chris just used that belt sander and cleaned up all the contact points on at least some of this stuff in order to be able to tack it together. And I think he's going to take a wire wheel to it first and knock off some more of the rust. Is that right?
Yep.
Again, you'll see that Chris is much more safety conscious than his derelict wife in that he wears ear protection, eye protection, and gloves for all of this. I just hide behind the camera.
I only have one eye, so I have to...
One working eye.
One working eye.
And 9 toes.
And 9 toes.
So after the last video, I realized when we are missing a hood. So I picked up a new one, so now I can actually be out here and watch and show you guys. So he's just cleaned everything up to attach the pipe to the stand, right, Chris?
Drill bit first.
Oh, do the drill bit to the top first. There you go. So Chris has marked that wrench piece with his soapstone pencil, which is super handy when working with metal, and then he's going to cut the end off and then tack weld it onto the coat rack pole. Just using a cutting wheel on a grinder. See? No, it looks like a coat rack hook.
Kind of.
Kind of. Or what we are calling a coat rack hook. Again, he's just marking the next one so that it at least sort of matches the other one, to then cut it off with a grinding wheel. So this is where it's at now. The top ones are hooked on and most of the smaller ones. You can see it's pretty freaking cool. So all that's left in this mock-up part of making this thing is the lower ones, which are for the
children.
For the children. Think of the children.
For the children.
So after all these pieces are hooked on there, Chris will finish welding them on, and then probably hit it with a wire wheel and then spray paint it. All in all, it's a whole day's work just to make it, and then the finishing process generally takes another solid day. And I probably won't show you guys all the details of that, but I will show you the finished product. I think these things are really interesting. They're definitely conversation pieces should you choose to have one in your house. So this is the finished product. You can see the integrity of the old metal and all its imperfections has been preserved, which I think gives it a really stylish flair. Now it's still drying. It takes about 2 to 3 days for it to dry, especially when it's this time of year and it's kind of cold and crappy out. Chris has been running a heater to try and keep the temperature more stable, and the coat rack is finished with these products, and he likes using those because it allows for the imperfections of the various old metals to show through, but it still gives it a cohesive finish that hides some imperfections and ties it all together. And I'm not going to give away all his secrets here, but he uses multiple layers of each of these and then finishes with that clear glaze, which he layers on there pretty heavily. All in all, I think it's really attractive. And we sell these for anywhere from $225 to $300 on average, depending on how long it takes him to make them and if we have to buy any parts. You figure this is at least 2 full solid days of work, and if you think of that in an hourly wage, it's just not that much. So I know this is something a little different for a Sunday video, but I really thought you guys would enjoy it. And after the response from the aquarium tank stand, I figured I'd just show you some more of his projects. He's pretty darn talented, and we do some really neat things. Let me know below if you guys like it, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the future videos that I'll have coming out. So we're back out in Chris's shop, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about the process from his perspective as the main creator. So Chris, what would you like to share about this?
Well, it's all finished up. I think it came out pretty good. what I like about doing stuff like this is that I use tools or just materials that at one point were pretty important to someone. You know, this wrench in my hand was, you know, very expensive wrench. Somebody loved it, somebody used it, made somebody money at one point, and for some unknown reason it got left aside, thrown to the wayside, and you know, give it a new life, sort of thing.
They tell a story.
Yeah, tell a story. Yeah, this drill bit here is probably a $500 drill bit that got tossed in the trash for some reason. Probably made some fella a hell of a lot of money at one point. To finish it up, I just used Rust-Oleum products. Poor man's powder coat is what I call it. I lay it on pretty thick, use a few different colors, and I end up using about 1.5 cans, 2 cans of lacquer, basically clear lacquer, just to give it little depth. Whatever, it's what I do. But yeah, I think it came out pretty good, and I'm happy with it.
If you guys have any ideas of things that you would like to see Chris make that is in this same sort of vein, let us know below. I mean, we're always interested in making cool new things. I have a few ideas for him myself. I kind of want you to make me a shoe rack out of neat stuff. Maybe the chain, and I'd like you to make me that plant stand and a bench. So,
and a coffee table.
And a coffee table. I keep him busy. So let us know below if you really want to see us continue in this series or not. And I'd just like to thank Chris for allowing me to invade his space. You know, I get the fish room, and this is his space. So, you know, it's a big deal for us to be allowed out here and make him turn off his music so we can film. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you stop by my Instagram, my Facebook, and my website, MsJinx.com, where you can find my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and informational projects like this.